The last transmission from Kallos Station went out on a dead channel, because every allied channel had already gone silent. This is Overseer Thal Ren of the Kallos Colonial Authority. Our shields are failing. The Drazkai fleet has broken orbit and begun planetary bombardment. If anyone receives this, if anyone is still out there, we are 200,000 civilians with nowhere left to run. Please, someone, anyone. Nobody answered. The coalition fleet that was supposed to be garrisoned 3 systems away had been annihilated months earlier. The Drazkai had learned that lesson well. Strike the defenders first, then take your time with the defenseless. Thal Ren closed the channel and sat alone in the dark of the command bunker, listening to the ceiling groan under kinetic strikes from orbit. Around her, techs wept quietly at their stations. There was nothing left to do but wait. Then the sensor officer, a young Valithi named Dasa, made a sound like he'd swallowed his own tongue. Overseer, I have contacts. Multiple contacts translating in system. There. He froze, staring at the readout like it had personally betrayed him. They're human. 600 light-years away, in a briefing room aboard the carrier George Washington II, Captain Elena Voss had listened to the same distress call 3 hours earlier, relayed through a chain of automated buoys that human engineers had quietly seeded through neutral space for exactly this purpose. Nobody had asked humanity to police the galaxy. Humanity had done it anyway, the same restless way it had once mapped every ocean on its own dying world and then gone looking for more. 200,000 civilians, she said, reading the numbers off the display. Drazkai Battle Group, minimum 12 capital ships, in orbit. Admiral Kwame Barrett stood at the head of the table, arms crossed, jaw set in the particular way his crews had learned meant the decision was already made and the meeting was just a formality for the record. The Coalition Council will tell us it's not our fight, he said. They'll tell us Kallos isn't a treaty world, that we have no obligation, that engaging the Drazkai directly risks provoking a war nobody's ready for. Are they wrong? Asked Commander Isaac Okafor from across the table. Barrett looked at the star map, at the small blinking icon that represented a planet full of people who had, 3 hours ago, given up hope. No, he said. They're not wrong. We have no obligation. He straightened. We're going anyway. Captain Voss, spin up the Washington. Signal the Bunker Hill, the Antietam, and the Yorktown. Tell them we've got a 4th of July appointment to keep, 6 centuries early. Nobody in that room needed the joke explained. Every human aboard those ships had grown up on stories of people who didn't wait for permission to do the right thing. It was baked into them now, deeper than any doctrine, the stubborn, unreasonable conviction that if you could help, you had to, and the rest of the universe could argue about jurisdiction after the fact. The Drazkai Battle Marshal Osik Vrai was in the middle of dictating his victory report when his sensor grid screamed. For signatures had translated into the system's outer edge, and the tactical computer flagged them with a designator his crew had only ever seen in threat briefings, never in the flesh. Human, class unknown, threat level severe. For ships, his tactical officer said, disbelief thick in his voice. Only 4. Osik Vrai had heard the stories the way every commander in this quadrant had, how the humans fought like something without an off switch, how they'd once thrown themselves against a superior Drazkai raiding force defending a colony that wasn't even theirs and had somehow won, how their engineers built ships that shouldn't function by any sane design principle and somehow outlasted everything thrown at them. He dismissed it as propaganda. For ships against 12. Concentrate all batteries on the lead vessel, he ordered. Show them what happens to the arrogant. Aboard Washington, Elena Voss watched the Drazkai formation wheel to meet them and felt the old, familiar calm settle over her. The one that had nothing to do with confidence and everything to do with acceptance. This might be the day she didn't come home. She'd made peace with that possibility a long time ago, the same way generations of sailors before her had, standing watch on gray decks under gray skies for people they'd never met. Captain, said her XO, the Drazkai fleet is charging weapons. They outnumber us 3-1. I know. Orders. Elena Voss looked at the planet on the main display, at the thin band of atmosphere where 200,000 people were listening to their world break apart, and thought about every person who had ever stood between danger and someone weaker, not because the math favored them but because someone had to. Full spread, All 4 ships. Target their capital ships first. Isaac. She keyed the fleet channel. Target the bombardment platforms. Get those civilians some sky back. The Washington, the Bunker Hill, the Antietam, and the Yorktown dropped out of formation and came in low and fast and utterly without hesitation. For points of human-forged steel howling into a fight the numbers said they should lose. They did not lose. What the Drazkai command hadn't accounted for, what almost nobody outside humanity's own borders ever fully accounted for, was that human ships weren't built to win clean engagements. They were built by a species that had spent its entire history losing battles and refusing to stay lost. Every human vessel in that formation had 3 redundant systems for every critical function, armor patched from 100 hard lessons, and crews who had trained for exactly this scenario. Outnumbered, outgunned, and unwilling to leave. The Antietam took a hit that would have gutted any other ship in known space and kept firing. The Yorktown threaded its way between 2 Drazkai cruisers, weapons blazing in both directions, and came out the other side still moving. Osik Vry watched his battle line collapse in real time, watched 4 ships do what his tactical models insisted 12 could not survive, and understood too late what every defeated commander before him had learned. Humans didn't fight to win. They fought to make losing so expensive nobody wanted to try it twice. 40 minutes after the Washington dropped out of translation, the Drazkai fleet broke and ran, leaving 4 of their capital ships as drifting wreckage and the sky over Kallos Station finally, mercifully, quiet. In the command bunker, Thal Ren stood beneath the newly repaired ceiling lights and watched the feed from orbit. 4 scarred, battered human warships holding position above her world like a promise kept. Dasa, still at his station, looked up at her with wet eyes. Overseer, they're hailing us. She opened the channel with hands that wouldn't quite stop shaking. Elena Voss's voice came through, tired and warm and entirely unbothered by the scale of what she'd just done. Kallos Station, this is Captain Elena Voss, United Earth Fleet. Sorry we're late. Damage controls already inbound, and we'll have medical teams on the surface within the hour. Thal Ren tried to speak and found she couldn't. Not right away. Around her, the bunker had gone silent again. But this time it was the silence of 200,000 people beginning, cautiously, to believe they were going to see tomorrow. Thank you, she finally managed. We had no one. We thought no one was coming. Somebody's always coming, Elena said. That's kind of our whole thing.